market agreement is an agreement by politicians, by political leaders. It paves the way, it removes barriers,
yes.
But then people have to take advantage of it. People have to
translate it into action, in other words.
People have to take advantages of it. And we're trying to facilitate, i.e. the GCC as a regional group is trying to facilitate. And I can talk about 3 different ways where we try to facilitate. One, that each member state has selected liaison officers, 2 liaison officers per country, whose names and contact numbers are now on the website, on the GCC website. They can be contacted for any difficulties, for any information.
In each member state?
Yes, in each member state. In addition to officers of the GCC Secretariat. All of them are available, but 2 are mentioned.
So, for example, any GCC country company can contact this person,
yes,
who is a representative of the GCC or of the common market.
Right.
Right, for any information or for any queries,
yes,
regarding the common market.
Yes.
Excellent.
The second one, there is a standing committee, a permanent committee, which is called the Common Market Committee. And it meets regularly, it has been meeting regularly, and will continue to meet in the GCC. It has representatives from all member states, representing all the major government departments that are engaged or involved in the common market. They meet regularly to facilitate, to remove barriers, to discuss any difficulties that may face implementation. And that committee reports to a ministerial committee, which is the Ministers of Finance and Economy. Also, they have the authority and they have the obligation and the mandate by the heads of state to resolve any barriers, any difficulties. And in case there are still disputes, they can also be handled through the dispute resolution mechanism at the GCC. Obviously, all these things are available mechanisms for people to take advantage of it, but people have to try, have to go and actually try to take advantage of the opportunities in all these different tracks.
Excellent.
And if there are difficulties, then they have to report.
So they have someone to turn to.
They have to report to their governments, and if they for some reason the problem is not resolved, they can contact the GCC.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mahdi. Dr. Mahdi,
yes.
Thank you. I would like to ask you, which sector do you think is going to be the first to step into the common market? For example, is it going to be the banking, the insurance, or any industrial companies that will be the pioneers in taking advantage of this facilitation of the common market, as just has been mentioned by Dr. Aluwaisheg?
Well, let me just, I would like to add a couple of comments before answering your question. Please. One has to do with Dr. Fahad has mentioned about complementarity of the economic activities within the GCC countries.
Right.
I want to add another dimension here. It has to do with the efficiency and productivity. As the market size gets larger, a lot of projects that are not feasible because of limited market size. For example, if you look at Kuwait or smaller states, many projects, really the barrier is you need to have the critical mass to make the business successful. Therefore, if you had a bigger market to introduce your product or service, definitely a lot of things that does not look feasible today, they will look more feasible tomorrow. So this will unleash more entrepreneurial power by the private sector. Today we live in a very globalized world, and at the end it is the survival of the fittest, of the best. And in that respect, some companies that are living off artificial subsidies or let's say unduly protected by the current system, definitely they will face more competitive forces in the future. And therefore, we expect some companies to, so to speak, exit the market and new companies to enter the market. Now, your question has to do with the dynamics of these different economic activities. Which ones we expect to see first in the market, which ones come next? I think it's easiest for the financial institutions to set up and run much before, let's say, services sectors or manufacturing sector. That takes, by nature, it takes more time to set up the business and get it running. So I expect the financial sector, financial services, be it banking, being other financial services, to be unleashed or to go to enter the market sooner than later. Another important, I think, thing we should also talk about has to do with the recent summit in Doha. It's that the GCC citizens will soon be able to trade in the stock exchanges in the different countries at equal footing. And that's very important part, equal treatment or freedom of exchange in the shares. It will have also a dynamic, and that can really be immediate. Once they announce it today, I expect next morning trading will take place, will change the dynamics. So that would be very things that we should expect in the immediate sort of future. On other fronts, as I mentioned, manufacturing and other things, it takes time to set up their asset base. It's going to take a longer time to set up and enter the market.
Thank you. And one other question, which is also related, Dr. Jazaf, pertaining to the public sector. Like, as everybody knows, yes, the public sector. I'm talking about the public sector in each member state. We all know that public sectors tend to move slowly into their future plans, the bureaucracy and all the laws that govern the work of the public sector, which make it somehow move slower than the private sector. How do you think the public sectors are going to perform? And how much ready do you think they are to enter the common market?
Well, it's very interesting, I think, Mr. Asad, the way you posed it, because there is government-to-government relations, there is government-to-business relation, and there is a business-to-business relationship. And by nature, business-to-business relationship will take off immediately. They will look at the new investment climate, the new rules, and they will optimize, and very quickly and very dynamically. Government-to-government relationships are more, they're governed more bilateral relationships, but they are important when it comes to regulating the market. Now, regulation for the market, whether it's company laws, whether it is entry barriers, removing these barriers, whether it is physical border checkpoints, etc., these are all in the control and in the hand of the governments and the respective departments that you have mentioned. So, and very important aspect also of this has to do with the regulation. The regulation is the role of the government. How is it going to, this common market is going to be regulated? Who is going to have the say in terms of what is possible or what is illegal or legal or illegal? How is the corporate governance structure for the players in these markets? These are all important questions, and I think Dr. Fahad alluded to when he mentioned that really there is a lot of technical implementation issues that needs to be worked out. What we have seen in Doha is the political will and statements by the leaders of this group of countries in the GCC. I think the ball now goes to the next layer in the ministries, in the decision-making channels in the different countries in terms of how to harmonize their regulatory structures to promote investment and economic activity in this future market.
Indeed.
The common market.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Dr. Aluwaisheg, 2008 is the common market.
Right.
2010 is the unified currency.
Right.
So we have about 2 years that separate the unified currency from the common market. Now, do you think that the launching of the unified currency is going to impact the work of the common market? Is it going to be coordinated smoothly, or will it cause any certain shock, let's say, for example, in the market?
Right. If you remember the European experience, the single market started in 1992, and the common currency came into circulation in February 2002. 10 years difference between them. And obviously the common market is essential to having a successful monetary union, but not the other way around. So you can have a well-functioning common market without a monetary union. The monetary union obviously is going to make it more efficient by reducing transaction costs and things like that. But I don't think it's going to create a shock. It's just going to be to increase or to enhance, to augment, so to speak, the benefits of the common market. I wanted to follow up on a point that Dr. Mahdi mentioned, and I think it's extremely important. I think what the common market does is increase competition even between governments, between government bureaucracies. But what it doesn't do, it does not remove regulations per se. In other words, it grants national treatment. So if a particular country over-regulates its own citizens, is going to also over-regulate GCC nationals. It is not going to give GCC nationals an advantage over its own nationals, obviously. So theoretically, the GCC, the common market is going to keep regulations as they are. That's theoretically. So we will probably we will have governments that are over-regulated and governments that are not so over-regulated. However, we're hoping, and I'll tell you later why, the source of that hope. We're hoping that the merging of these markets, so to speak, the competition between the different bureaucracies is going to reduce regulation. It's going to show over-regulated bureaucracies the benefits of liberalizing their economies. And the source of this hope is in the European experience, where a lot of the integration benefits actually happen at the national level, not at the regional level. Meaning, in the process of integrating the economies of the European Union, governments had to revise to go over their own regulations, go over their own ways to try to improve them. And just in the process for harmonizing legislation, an improvement happened that was not intended, but it was welcome. And we're hoping that this process is going to happen in the GCC common.
Inshallah. Dr. Aluwaisheg and Dr. Jazaf and our dear viewers, we have also prepared a second report, and this time we are trying to survey the opinions and the perspectives of some specialists in economy from different GCC member state countries. Let's watch this report with more views on the common market, and then we will be back to continue our discussion with our two guests. So over to the report.
I think this is great, and this is an ambitious thought and become reality. And we are in the GCC Health Minister Council office. We have a common agenda, and our mission is the same. And we have very strong collaboration in group recruitment for pharmaceutical supply and hospital centers, and such direction and common market. It will help us, and it will reduce the price and improve the quality of our products in the GCC countries.
I think this is a very good chance that we become now almost one country if we are looking at the economic side. And this can give us a very good chance to make some sort of pooling of the resources in one place just to address the health issues, and one of them is the health research. And if we take Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and other the GCC countries, together with them we have a pool of researchers, a pool of resources, a pool of big companies that are committed to the community. All these researchers, if they are put together, I think we can do a good addition to the health systems in our country, and to do a very good high quality researches that can direct all countries together to address their health priorities.
Dr. Salim, talking about the GCC, the last GCC countries summit, which came out of a decision which is establishing a common market between the Gulf countries. So what do you think of that, and how can that be reflected positively on the health sector with its researchers?
I think that is very important also. The other